What if the way you are looking at life is the very reason why it feels heavy, blocked, or distant from the peace you long for? What if the pain you carry is not a sign of weakness, but a reflection of how your observation has been shaped over years of silent struggle? Many people believe they are simply watching their lives unfold, as if they are powerless witnesses of destiny. But here lies a forgotten truth. There is no such thing as passive observation. Every time you look at yourself, at the world, you are not merely seeing, you are shaped. Think about the weight you've been carrying, the sense of loneliness that sometimes creeps in, even when you are surrounded by people, the exhaustion of repeating the same cycles of hoping for change, only to feel like nothing moves forward, the fear that time is running out, and that perhaps it is already too late to heal, to love, to begin again. These are not just private thoughts. They are the silent colors through which you observe reality. And your observation is not neutral. It has power. It molds. It creates. Science and spirituality whisper the same message in different languages. Bruce Lipton, in his studies of biology, showed us that perception is not a secondary process. It is the switch that turns on cascades of biochemistry, influencing health, mood, and destiny itself. Ancient traditions spoke of the sacred witness, the inner presence that gives meaning to life. And when you bring these two streams together, science and spirit, you discover that the way you observe is, in truth, the architecture of your reality. You might have been told that you are not enough, that your body is fragile, that your destiny is written in your genes or in your path. But pause for a moment. Feel this. Every cell in your body listens to the stories you tell yourself through observation. Every thought is like light through a lens, refracted into chemistry, emotion, vibration. When you observe life through fear, your body contracts. When you observe through gratitude, even in silence, your biology expands. This is why your inner questions matter so deep. The moments when you whisper, "Am I truly worthy of something better?" or "Does the universe even hear me?" are not empty. They are seeds of observation. And those seeds are not falling into a void. They are being recorded, lived, embodied by the field of your existence. The truth is that the universe responds, not to what you force yourself to imagine, but to the quality of the eyes through which you see. I know you have tried. You've tried to visualize, to affirm, to manifest. You've prayed and waited, sometimes in silence, sometimes in despair, and maybe the results have seemed faint or absent. But what if the missing piece was never your effort, but the state from which you observe? What if the shift is not in doing more, but in changing the quality of presence with which you look at your own life? Let this moment be a beginning, a new awareness, a doorway into the realization you are not stuck and you are not broken. You are observing yourself into being, moment by moment, breath by breath. And as we journey together in this time, we will explore how the act of observing, when aligned with coherence, with surrender, with gratitude, can transform not only your perception, but your biology, your relationships, and the very direction of your life. Stay here, breathe, feel the depth of this truth. The quantum observer is not far away. It is not a concept for scientists or mystics alone. It is you. It has always been you. And the way you choose to observe today, right now, is already shaping the reality you will live tomorrow. The invisible trap of passive observation. There is a quiet belief that many carry without ever question, the belief that we are simply watching life unfold, powerless to do more than witness. We say to ourselves, this is just how things are, as if reality were a film projected on a screen, and we are only the audience in the dark. But this is an illusion that steals your strength, because in truth, observation is never passive. The way you look at life is the very force that molds it, shaping its texture, its outcomes, its rhythm. Think of the moments when everything seemed against you. A sudden loss, an argument that shattered your peace, the silence of a prayer that never seemed to be answered. In those moments, did you feel as though you were just enduring what life gave you, that your role was only to suffer and survive? Yet even then, your observation was at work. When you saw through the lens of despair, your body contracted, your breath became shallow, your chemistry was altered. Bruce Lipton's research shows us that perception is not an abstract process. It is the switch that activates cascades of biochemistry. The stress of fear, doubt, and judgment is not just felt emotional. It instructs the body, down to the cell, to move into defense, into survival, into illness. This is why neutrality does not exist. You are always observing through one of two lenses, fear or possibility, through contraction or expansion, through despair or hope. And what you see is never separate from what you are creating. Imagine a camera lens tilted just slightly. What it captures is distorted, the light bending in ways that alter the image. Your mind, your observation, works in exactly this way. The lens you carry determines whether you see a dead end or a hidden opening, a curse or a disguised blessing. Daily life offers simple examples of this hidden trap. A traffic jam can be observed as a source of stress, irritation, and wasted time. And immediately, your body releases chemicals that confirm that stress. But the very same moment can be observed through another lens as an unexpected pause, a pocket of stillness, even a chance to breathe deep or to reflect on a thought you had been avoiding. The event is the same, but the observation changes everything. And with that shift, your inner chemistry, your vibration, your field change too. Many people are suffering not because of the events of life, but because of the way they observe. Observation is like water pouring over the roots of your reality. If the water is poisoned with fear, the roots weaken. If the water carries the frequency of gratitude or curiosity, the roots expand and new life grows. You may believe that the suffering you feel is inevitable, that it comes from outside, but so often it is the silent habit of observing life through the narrow lens of fear that repeats the pain. This is the invisible trap, not life itself, but the unnoticed way in which we interpret life, shaping it before it even unfolds. You are not a powerless witness. You are the lens, the observer, and the creator, and every moment offers the choice to shift how you see, to soften the distortion, to open the field of possibility. Even the smallest act of awareness, a breath, a pause, a different question can bend the light of your reality into new forms. And when you begin to notice this, you discover something profound. You have never been a passive spectator. You have always been the silent architect, sculpting your inner and outer world through the eyes you bring to it. The trap only dissolves when you see it, and the moment you see it, a doorway opens into a different kind of light, one where observation becomes not a prison, but the key to liberation. Why most fail when trying to visualize their future. So many seekers of transformation are told the same advice. Visualize what you want, see it in your mind, and it will come. At first, it sounds simple, but in practice, it often feels forced, hollow, or even frustrating. You close your eyes, you imagine the new job, the healed body, the loving relation. Yet when you open them again, the silence of disappointment returns. The future you tried to build in your imagination feels far away, almost unreal, and the cycle of hope and doubt repeats itself. The hidden reason behind this struggle is not a lack of effort. It is not because you are doing it wrong. It is because the mind alone cannot override the deeper programs that live beneath the surface of consciousness. Bruce Lipton explains that the subconscious mind, the set of beliefs and patterns stored mostly before the age of 7, operates with far greater power than your conscious thoughts. When you visualize abundance, but your subconscious has been programmed with fear of scarcity, the image dissolves before it has a chance to take root. When you picture health, but your body still carries the silent memory of illness and despair, the vision feels fake, and the chemistry of stress dominates once again. This is why so many fail with visualization. They try to create a movie in the mind, while ignoring the frequency of the body. But the universe does not respond to pictures alone. It responds to vibration. It responds to the felt reality that resonates beneath the surface of words. The future is not shaped by the image you hold in your mind, but by the frequency with which you embody it in the present moment. Neville Goddard spoke of this with remarkable clarity. Imagination only works when it is felt as real, not repeated mechanically, not recited like a script, but lived inwardly, with emotion, with presence, with a deep conviction that it is already true. Without this felt dimension, visualization is nothing more than a shadow, a mental exercise that leaves the heart untouched. Think of this difference. One person closes their eyes and imagines every detail of the day they want to live, the car, the conversations, the success. Yet inside, their chest is tight, their body still whispers of fear, their breath is restless. Another person does something much smaller. They pause for a moment, feel the relief of having already arrived safely at home, the gratitude of being protected, the quiet joy of being embraced by peace. One constructs a mood, the other embodies a moment. And it is the second, not the first, that carries the true creative power. The secret is this: the frequency of gratitude, of relief, of love collapses possibilities into reality far more effectively than 1,000 mental images without feeling. The universe does not read your pictures. It listens to your vibration. It listens to the way your heart resonates with what you claim to desire. And when the two align, when what you want in your mind is supported by what you feel in your body, creation unfolds with grace. This is why the effort to visualize harder often brings only exhaustion, because the harder you push with the mind, the further you move from the heart. The true shift is softer, subtler, yet infinitely more powerful. It is not the length of the movie in your head that matters, but the depth of the frequency you embody in your being. One moment of gratitude felt fully is worth more than hours of empty visualization. When you understand this, frustration begins to dissolve. You realize it was never that you were incapable of manifesting. It was that you were trying to build a future with the wrong tool. Not the dry effort of pictures, but the living vibration of presence. And once you taste this truth, the act of creating no longer feels like a performance. It feels like like coming home, like letting your inner frequency whisper the future into being. The silent saboteur, emotional incoherence. There is a hidden conflict that quietly drains the power of countless souls. It is the state of asking for one thing while feeling another, wanting abundance, but carrying fear of lack, hoping for love while drowning in the memory of rejection, praying for help while secretly believing in the inevitability of illness. This conflict is not always spoken aloud, but it reverberates through the body, like two opposing notes trying to play the same song. The result is dissonance, a subtle chaos that leaves you wondering why nothing changes, even when your intentions are clear. Bruce Lipton shows us that stress hormones shift the body into survival mode. When fear, anger, or despair dominate your inner state, your cells prepare only to defend, not to grow. In this chemistry, the body closes, heart contracts, and the nervous system becomes trapped in vigilance. And no matter how beautiful the intention in your mind, it cannot take root in a field poisoned by incoherence. It is like planting a seed in soil saturated with toxins. The seed may hold potential, but the environment does not allow it to sprout. This is the silent saboteur, the gap between thought and feeling, between intention and chemistry. You tell yourself you believe, but your body whispers otherwise. You affirm light, but your breath still carries the rhythm of fear. And so the signals you send into the quantum field are fragmented, conflict, canceling each other out. It is like broadcasting two radio frequencies at once. The message is lost in static, and the universe mirrors back the confusion you transmit. The truth is that intention without emotional coherence is powerless. It is not enough to want, not enough to affirm, not enough to think. The observer only collapses possibility when the thought is carried by a feeling that resonates as true. Until then, the future remains suspended, waiting for you to unify what you say, what you feel. The path toward coherence is not about forcing yourself into joy or denying pain. On the contrary, it begins with pausing long enough to feel what your body is truly saying. Is there tension in your chest when you speak of abundance? Is there heaviness in your stomach when you speak of love? These sensations are not obstacles. They are invitations, signals from your biology asking to be heard, soothed, realign. Only when you honor them can you begin to shift them into harmony. Small acts of presence become the alchemy of coherence. A moment of breath, slow and deliberate, softens the nervous system. A few minutes of silence allows the body to reset. A gesture of ground, a hand on the heart, feet steady on the earth, can remind the body that it is safe, that it is supported. In these spaces, intention and feeling begin to weave together, like two instruments finally playing the same melody. And when coherence arrives, even in fragile moments, something extraordinary happens. The same intention that once felt impossible suddenly carries weight. The same affirmation that once felt empty suddenly vibrates with truth. The field responds differently, not because you forced harder, but because your whole being, mind, body, and heart begins to speak with one voice. This is the power hidden behind coherence. It does not shout, it does not strain, it resonates. And resonance is what creation responds to. The incoherence that once sabotaged you begins to dissolve, and in its place emerges a unified frequency, strong enough to call forth a new reality, the quantum observer, inside your biology. For many, the idea of a quantum observer feels distant, abstract, even untouchable. It sounds like a concept reserved for scientists in laboratories or philosophers in deep meditation, but the truth is far more intimate. The quantum observer is already living inside. It is not a theory you must understand, but a reality you are embodying in every moment. Your body is the laboratory, and your thoughts, your emotions, your perception are the scientists at work. Bruce Lipton revealed something extraordinary in the study of biology. The cell, often seen as the smallest unit of life, is not merely a machine driven by genetic program. Its membrane acts as a living observer, receiving signal, decoding, and choosing how to express the genetic code. Genes do not determine your destiny by themselves. They are potentials waiting for an observer, the cell membrane, to decide which possibility will be expressed. This means that even at the smallest level, life is not passive. It is interpreted. It responds to the quality of the signals it receives. Now imagine this principle expanded to your entire being. Joe Dispenza has shown that the human brain and heart function in a similar way, collapsing infinite potentials into one lived reality. The heart-brain field receives and transmits signals, choosing from the vast quantum field of possibilities the one that becomes your lived experience. Just as the cell's membrane interprets signals, your heart and mind are constantly interpreting the energy of your observation, shaping the timeline you walk into. This is why you are not separate from quantum reality. You are immersed, sculpting it with every breath, every micro-choice, every subtle observation. When you approach a meal with gratitude rather than indifference, your biology receives a different signal, and your body responds differently. When you look at a stranger with curiosity instead of judgment, your chemistry shifts, your field shifts, and the moment transforms. These are not small gestures. They are acts of quantum observation encoded into the living fabric of your being. Your body is not a static object moving through time. It is a dynamic field of awareness, a living experiment in consciousness. Every thought, every feeling, every intention is like a scientist choosing which possibility to test, which path to unfold, which potential to bring into being. You may not see the results immediately, just as a single observation in a laboratory does not always yield instant transformation. But over time, the cumulative effect of these micro-choices builds the architecture of your reality. Think of it this way. You are not merely living inside a body. You are a walking quantum lab. Every cell, every organ, every neural pathway is listening, observing, and respond. When you carry despair, the laboratory produces outcomes aligned with contraction and limitation. When you carry gratitude, the laboratory begins to express possibilities of expansion, healing, and coherence. This is not metaphor alone. It is biology infused with consciousness. And so the question is no longer whether you are a quantum observer. The truth is that you always have been. The only question is, what quality of observation are you offering to your own biology? Because in the end, the life you live is the echo of the way you observe yourself, the counterintuitive power of surrendered focus. We are taught from a young age that control is power. Push harder, hold tighter, manage every detail, and you will succeed. Yet the deeper truth is more paradoxical. The more you try to force life into your design, the more it slips away, leaving behind anxiety, exhaustion, and the quiet despair of feeling that nothing is ever enough. Obsessive control is not power. It is the very force that blocks the flow of creation. Bruce Lipton reminds us that the conscious mind processes only about 40 bits of information per second, while the subconscious moves through 40 million. This means that the part of you that tries to control everything is biologically incapable of doing so. The conscious mind is like a flashlight in the dark, narrow and limited, while the subconscious is a vast sky of stars. To live by control alone is to ignore the immensity of your own intelligence, to shrink yourself into a fragment of what you truly are. This is where the power of surrendered focus reveals itself. The observer is not most effective when straining, forcing, or obsessing. It is most powerful when present, coherent, and surrendered. True creation does not arise from tightening your grip, but from aligning your state. In that alignment, the subconscious, the body, the field itself begin to organize reality in ways the conscious mind could never orchestrate. Think of light scattered in every direction. It illuminates, but soft, weak, without precision. Then think of light focused into a laser, intense, coherent, capable of cutting through metal. Your attention works in the same way. When scattered by worry, fear, or the desperate need to control, it loses strength. But when centered in presence, anchored in coherence, it becomes a laser beam of creation, able to carve a path through the fabric of possibility. This surrender is not the same as passivity. It is not giving up. It is allowing the deeper intelligence within you, the subconscious, the heart, the field, to do what the conscious mind cannot. It is the act of stepping back from the storm of overthinking and stepping into the stillness of presence. In this stillness, observation becomes clean, powerful, aligned. A moment of surrendered focus may look simple from the outside. Perhaps it is 2 minutes of attention resting on the rhythm of your breath. Perhaps it is a pause where the heart softens and the body remembers its own wisdom. Yet within that small act, the static of resistance dissolves and the signal of your intention grows clear. The scattered light becomes a laser. The observer within you stops fighting reality and begins to shape. And in that shift, life responds different. Paths open where you once saw wall. Energy flows where you once felt blocked. What you sought so desperately begins to emerge, not because you forced it into being, but because you finally surrendered enough to let it flow. This is the counterintuitive secret of creation. The less you control, the more you align. And in alignment, focus ceases to be a burden and becomes a doorway into the effortless power of the observer you truly are. The quantum observer is not out there, it's you, right now. At the end of this journey, a truth emerges with quiet clarity. The quantum observer is not an abstract force hovering outside of it. It is not a distant principle reserved for science or mysticism. The observer you. It has always been you. Every moment of your life has been a reflection of how you choose to see, of the quality of perception you bring to yourself and to the world. The pain you have, the grief, the disconnection, the repeating cycles of effort without change was never proof that you are broken. It was a mirror of the lens through which you were observing. And this is where the most liberating truth resides. You do not need more tools, more complicated practices, or external confirmations. The missing piece is already within you. It is the way you observe your own existence. Bruce Lipton's work reminds us that biology is not destined. Genes do not write your future in stone. Perception, the way you observe yourself, rewrites genetic expression. You are observing yourself in this very moment, either into harmony or into imbalance. And Greg Braden brings forward what ancient traditions have always known. The sacred witness within you is the key. Science now confirms what mystics whispered centuries ago, that the act of witnessing has the power to shift matter itself. This means you are both the projector and the film. Life does not play itself before you, it plays through you. Change the observer, and the movie changes. So often we look for transformation in the quantity of effort, more affirmation, more visualizations, more practice, but true transformation lies in the quality of observation. How you look at yourself when you are alone, how you observe your body when it aches, how you observe life when it disappoints. That is where creation begins. You do not need to fight against the pain. You do not need to force the future into being. You are already shaping reality through the lens of your observation. And when you soften that lens into gratitude, into coherence, into presence, you step into the living current of transformation. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about remembering the power you have carried all along. So let this be your beginning, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Begin noticing the quality of your observation. Notice how you see yourself, how you see others, how you see life. In that noticing, the shift begins. And from that shift, new realities unfold. Repeat this truth within yourself. I am present. I am aligned. My observation is creating a new reality. Right now, you are not waiting for the observer to arrive. You are the observer. You are the witness. You are the creator. And from this moment on, the way you choose to observe will be the way you choose to live.